right. Hi, Tricia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, doing fine. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Douglas. It's a pleasure to be here.
As I was saying before we got on, you are the first guest that I've had to do their interview from the kitchen. And I think that's pretty cool. But there is a reason why you're doing it from the kitchen, is because we're going to be talking about food and nutrition and health today, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and you've got the perfect host for this particular topic because once you see the show, you'll see that I am a bit overweight and have been struggling with my weight for many, many years. And I tell you, the older I get, the more difficult it gets to lose weight. I've tried diets and I've done the yo-yo thing. And where do we start? What can we do? Why don't you give us a
Well,
little story?
I think a good place to start is think about where we are. And when people listen, it might not be the holidays anymore, but there are holidays all around the year. And I think that's what really can trip people up: birthdays, holidays, parties. And we want to think about these events as the day. So with the holidays coming up, keep it to the holiday and try not to turn it into a holla week, a holla month, a holla season, or a holla year, which that can happen if people fall
Yeah.
off track. It can be very hard to get back on track. So we do want to think about how to treat the holidays. And one way going in is to think about the food that will be served. And if you think about Halloween candy, when the other holidays come around, it's the same candy in different wrapping, really. And that candy can trip people up. So during the holidays, think about things like those candies. You can get them any time of year. So why bother with those? Or why bother with chips or pretzels or typical supermarket bakery goods? But during the holidays, when your family might make special treats, have those and then eat really mindfully. One of the ways that I do a lot of employee seminars, and in my employee wellness seminars, I talk a lot about mindful eating. And that's getting rid of distractions when you eat. Any time of year, is good for that. But during the holidays, that can be especially helpful too. So that if you do choose to indulge, we're not eating it out of guilt, but we're trying to cut a smaller portion, then eating it slowly and mindfully, and really tuning into the flavor of each bite. And that can help. And in one of those programs where I was teaching, there was a gentleman that came in one week and he was laughing. And I said, "What's so funny?" He said, "Well, I gave up eating and watching TV at the same time and I lost 4 pounds. 4 pounds in a week. And it was just a habit. It wasn't even the nutrition, it was the habit. And the habit was watching TV and eating, because many people they'll watch TV. And, I'll give an example with some a snack food. And these actually are chickpeas that can be, really healthy as a snack food. But if you sit down in front of a television show, what happens with whether it's chips or something healthy, we tend to go through the whole bag, or we finish up when the show is over, rather than tuning into, am I satisfied? Am I full? And if you measure out, like when I have these, I measure out a quarter cup. And on the label, they usually give you a good sense of what a serving should be. And this is 1/4 cup. So I'll measure that out. I'll sit at the table and eat it slowly and mindfully. Whereas in front of the TV, it's easy to just keep eating. And most of the times people aren't choosing healthy items, but measuring it out and then sitting down and really enjoying every bite and then being done. And after you're done, getting out of the kitchen and moving on to something else. If you do a lot of your work in the kitchen and you have a lot of food around that you're looking at, those visual cues can cue you in to eat that food. So there's a lot of tips kind of thrown in there in once. And, that's eat mindfully, get rid of distractions like reading, looking at your phone, watching the TV when you eat. Try to eat only in the kitchen or dining room area. And then, also think about, as I mentioned, moving on to something else. And many people don't realize that there's a bigger picture than just the food itself. And one of the things that can be really helpful is getting organized. And I do that a lot with my clients. that we look at. I'm a coach too. I'm not just a registered dietitian. And I love the coaching model because it looks at the whole picture of people. And, like for you, you mentioned that, you've things are getting tougher over the years. So we want to look at, the bigger picture of what's going on. When do you go to sleep? And, can we get you to go to sleep a little bit earlier? Because the more we lack sleep, the more that we crave things. And I wish we were craving broccoli, but people crave things like ice cream and cookies and junk. So, for you, we would look at the big picture of, what else is going on? Are you making time for the fun things in your life? And are you, Douglas? Are you making time for the fun things?
Well, this is fun. I mean, I certainly enjoy doing my show, but there's not much exercise involved in this. I sit and I talk.
Okay.
So if you mean fun in terms of physical activity, no.
No, I mean, it really just the fun, the things that, and it's great you have the show because you're doing something that you're passionate about, and that helps to fill your cup. So for you, you are doing something you're passionate about. Many people aren't. They really don't like their jobs. They're counting down the days to retirement. And for those people, I look to, help to add fun. What do you enjoy to do? And can we put that into your lifestyle? So for you, if because of the show, you're a little more sedentary, we want to figure out ways to move. And one of the things that I go to right away when people, aren't moving much is to think about the physical fitness guidelines in the US. And they're very similar in Canada. It's 150 minutes per week minimum of moderate intense exercise. So brisk walking is an example. That is 30 minutes 5 times a week. And that's getting you to a point of baseline, just good health. So first, I want to get you, baseline good health. For weight loss, it's bumping it up even more than that. But some people who are sedentary, once they start moving, that, that'll help them just right there, combined with some nutrition, tips. But I would think about if, we're all at home more now with what's going on with COVID. Well, can you multitask your exercise? So can you put underneath your desk a little peddler? You can buy these little bicycle peddlers that can go under a desk. They're, 20, $30. And, that could be something to help you move while you're sitting there, while you're editing. And then I have a bike desk. So I have a bike that has a desk, and you can bike and be on the computer. So if you're editing one of the shows, you can be on there. When you're scheduling guests, you can be on there. What things can you do while you're still moving? Can you get on a treadmill and, maybe you listen to other podcasts and other shows and, or your own show, when you're playing it back, can you do that while doing something else? So if you pair your movement with something else, it can get a lot easier to do. For instance, would be when I watch TV, I pair it with either yoga or strength training, and you can do body weight training. So that could be, sit-ups and push-ups. And if you have weights, that can be lifting weights while you watch TV. So if you combine the movement with something else that you like to do, it's more apt to happen. Also, I like to use an end goal in mind when moving. So everyone needs something from the drugstore, right? Maybe you need Q-tips or maybe you need stamps. Well, can you take a walk knowing that the walk is to get something, to get maybe a book from the library or to return something or to deposit a check? So try to pair your movement with either, things that you have to do, or something fun like watching TV, or with that goal in mind, again, like going to a store. That can be really helpful. And now, does any of that sound like that would work for you, Douglas?
It might, yeah. I mean, I like the idea of sort of combining tasks because then it takes the sort of the drudgery out of the exercise. Because exercising is very mundane for the mind. Yeah.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because exercise impacts your executive functioning. So it actually makes you think better. It makes you make better choices. So if we change our perspective about exercise, it can really help us out to know that if I move, I'm going to be more productive. I'm going to have better time management because I'm affecting the executive functioning in my brain. exercise builds a bigger brain, and we all want a bigger brain. What does the opposite is sugar. Sugar actually is associated with decreased brain volume, particularly in the hippocampus, and that structure is responsible for memory. I'm going to show you something really interesting about sugar. So if you look at a typical tub of ice cream, this tub of ice cream has 36 teaspoons of sugar. Now, I'm not saying that anyone's eating this whole thing. Maybe some people are, but maybe you go through it in a week. And that's quite a bit of sugar to go over in a week. Now, I'm going to show you what that looks like. I end up spilling it a lot, so I'll try not to do that. Have my new iPhone underneath and get that out of the way. All right, here we go. That whole cup. So when you go through every tub of ice cream, you go through this much sugar. And maybe again you say I wouldn't have that, whole tub, but over a week maybe you would, and that's what you'd have. Now here's the really scary thing. There are these coffee shops around the country, and you probably know of them, that have these drinks that are for every season. Right now, there's a gingerbread coffee available at a popular coffee shop. That one gingerbread coffee drink has not only all of the sugar in the ice cream, but you actually add 6.5 teaspoons more and one coffee drink has over 1,000 calories and all of this sugar. It's shocking. It's actually over 40 teaspoons of sugar. It's 42.5 to be exact.
In one drink, there's that much?
In one drink. Whether you're thin or overweight, that's not good for anyone.
No.
And about every 3 to 4 of these that people get, so every 3 to 4 days, if they're getting one every day, you gain a pound. It's unbelievable. And I can't believe that the companies are doing this to us. And people don't know, because when you taste this, you'll say, wow, that's really good. You're not going to say that's disgusting, it's too sweet. You're going to say it's wonderful, I want more, because it's designed. I call it Frankenfood, and I have on my little mask here to remind people that it's a Frankenfood. And what I mean by that, it's just something that doesn't occur in nature. It's, made by a scientist, a food scientist. And, it's, if you think about your great-great-grandparents, and, could they grow this on a tree or in their yard, in their garden? No, they can't, because it's just so manufactured that we're not meant to have this kind of stuff as humans. And, I just feel bad because not enough people really know what they're getting. So I like to boil things down so you can actually see what you're really getting. And that is when we pour that into the cup. Now look at this. And Douglas, it would be very hard to eat all this sugar. If I could pass this through and teleport it through the screen to you and say, eat this, it would be really hard. However, once we turn it into a liquid, it is so easy to do. Another example I have is soda. So a typical can of soda, when you look at all the sugar in there, all of these packets of sugar.
In one
Quite
can.
Shocking.
Wow.
You wouldn't put that into coffee or tea, would you? No, but yet it's very easy to drink that when you have a soda. So I would ask, if you're drinking any liquid calories, be really careful of those. And we want to try to limit those in the diet. And then the more that we eat sugary things, the more that we crave. So the more you can cut back on the sugar. And I'm not saying to never have it, but try to keep it out of the house. And then once in a while, if you want ice cream, can you go and get it? It's a little harder in the COVID times, but the more we keep the stuff out of the house, the better off that we are. If it's in the house, it's a cue to eat it. Now I'm going to just show you in my cabinet here. If we open my cabinet and if you open the cabinet and the cookies are right there, you're going to say, Oh, wow, I'm hungry. Let me eat the cookies. Now, if you open the cabinet and you see the oatmeal, then you're more apt to eat the oatmeal. So think about if you do have first try not to keep these around, but second, try to either hide them in the back of the cabinet, or in my house, we'll put them in a whole other room so that they're just really out of sight, out of mind. So, you want to think what strategies really work the best for you, and then, employ those strategies. But that's, just a few of my tips, and I include lots of tips in the book that can really help people out. But I think that, it's I look at everyone as an individual, and the way I wrote my book was to include a lot of tips, and then for people to kind of pick and choose and figure out, what's going to work for me? What can I pull from this? What can I use? And I lay out a lot, over 20 years being a dietitian, just lots of tips like the ones that I shared today.
Great. Tricia, we do have to wrap this up. Do you have a copy of your book to hold
Sure.
up?
Let me show that. My book is
Healthy
Healthy
Dividends.
Dividends,
Okay,
and it's investments in nutrition, movement, and healthy habits that pay off. And I can be found at triciasilverman.com, and I'm on social media if people want to connect with me there.
great. Thanks so much for coming on. And I think I'm going to get the cookies out of the house. I think that's at least the first step.